asked Senator Rand Paul if he was surprised by Dr. Fauci's refusal to answer questions and what comes next. Take a look. Great to have you on the show.
Glad to be with you.
So before your committee hearing today, Dr. Fauci, in front of the committee, Dr. Fauci asserted his Fifth Amendment rights 111 times to avoid answering questions. As you know, as someone who has gone after him for legitimate reasons for years, he's never shied away from speaking out about COVID and his handling of it. Oftentimes, he can't wait to find the camera. Were you surprised that he decided now to take the Fifth, given you guys have had back and forth in testimony previously, and why do you think he did?
I was kind of surprised. He's been granted a very broad pardon, a 10-year pardon. The only person that I know of in history who's gotten a pardon this broad has been Hunter Biden. Maybe not the best category or company to keep, but yeah, I was surprised. He's been given a pardon. All he had to do is show up and tell the truth. Even if he had deleted records against the law, deleted federal records during that 10-year period of time, all he had to say was, well, I forgot about it. Yeah, I did, and I've been pardoned. If he told the truth about it, the only way he was under any liability is if he lied about it. If he were to say, I didn't destroy records, that was potentially a problem for him. But we know he destroyed records. We have emails from his assistant saying, I deleted tons of records for you. She's looking for a compliment. She's saying, I deleted all of these records for you. We have him talking to Francis Collins saying, read this and delete it, and then delete it from your deleted files. We have his buddy David Morenz, who's now been indicted, saying, this is how you avoid FOIA. Don't send these things to Tony. Tony's too important. I'll take him these messages by hand, or I'll verbally give him his messages. But these are all people trying to evade the law.
Right.
We also know that he lied about this dangerous research that he funded, and we went through the specifics on that, but he refused to answer.
So in terms of the accountability here, I mean, when you do see that former colleagues of Dr. Fauci have been indicted, and yet you have this pardon that was, there are questions about whether it was signed with the auto pen and whether that's legitimate. It's dated back to 2014, as you referenced. Is there any accountability for someone like Dr. Fauci? I know that Congress can hold him in contempt, but really they can only refer charges to the Justice Department. Is this federal pardon from the previous president make him bulletproof? Is there anything that Americans can do to get some accountability from someone who subjected them to these horrendous policies that had wide-ranging consequences, not to mention the lies about them?
So next week we will vote to hold him in contempt of Congress. That is a felony, and he can be prosecuted. We can't prosecute him, but we refer him to the Department of Justice. So there is a question, can you plead the Fifth Amendment when you've been pardoned? If you've already been granted immunity, how can you be seeking immunity from self-incrimination if you've already been granted immunity? So at the very end, I ask him the very specific question, within the parameters of your pardon, this is a question within the parameters of your pardon, did you destroy records? And he refused to answer that. So a court will have to decide. The Department of Justice has to be convinced to take the case, and then the court will have to decide, does his Fifth Amendment privilege apply when he has a pardon? This has been debated across the internet, across the country, and we're going to find out an answer. But we're going to push hard to see if the current Department of Justice will prosecute.
So Dr. Fauci, of course, was fine with lots of people being obsessed with him, but during his opening statement, he accused you of having an unhinged obsession with him. What is your response to that, and do you think he'll ever apologize for anything that he did during his handling of the pandemic?
I think my concern is justifiable. 1 million Americans died, 15 million died worldwide, and I'm not alone in believing this came from the lab. The CIA now believes that, the FBI believes that, the Department of Energy believes that. I would say a sizable percentage of scientists, particularly scientists in this arena, believe that. Even the scientists who were his yes men, the ones who were saying, oh, it came from nature, in their private emails to this day are still saying, well, gosh, I think it might have been manipulated. I hate that we said it could not have been manipulated. It looks like maybe it was. Anthony Fauci was saying the opposite. That's the big problem he has for credibility and for history, is he said so many things privately, and then he said the opposite publicly. Not just on this, on masks. Privately, he said masks don't work. In public, he wore 3 masks. Privately, he would acknowledge natural immunity. In public, he was saying, oh, we just don't know. We don't know. So there's a lot of public and private disparity. And I think that's really what's caught him up. And I think people don't like that hypocrisy.
No, especially given the consequences for them and the lack of consequences for people like Dr. Fauci, who was going to dinners with members of the media while he was telling Americans to cancel their Thanksgiving plans with their loved ones. I want to play you a piece of Senator Bernie Moreno's questioning of Dr. Fauci and get your reaction on the other side.
Who the f do you think you were for doing that? It is a total disgrace what you did to this country. And if my Democrat colleagues are standing there defending you, I hope the voters of the United States of America watch the clips of every one of you doting on a guy who was more interested in being a celebrity than saving American people.
Yes, Senator, I think this is a question that a lot of Americans are asking. I mean, Fauci is really an example of what unelected bureaucrats can get away with, how they think they can yield their power to do things that Fauci did, to issue mandates, to stand up and say that he's the science. How is it that Democrats, though, on the committee weren't as interested in the discrepancies between what he was saying privately in his diary and what he was pushing publicly in terms of forced mandates by the government and fear, panic among the American people? Why are they not interested in getting to the bottom of this, not to mention the lab leak, which we'd like to prevent from happening in the future?
I think it's ultimately a different philosophy. Most Democrats believe that the common people aren't capable of taking care of themselves or making decisions. So in health care, you can't buy any insurance you want. You have to buy insurance that the Democrats think is best for you. With regard to your health care, they don't think you can make a wise decision on whether you're vaccinated or not. They don't think you can distinguish whether you're 75 years old or 15 years old, whether you get a vaccine or not. They don't think you can make these decisions. And so it's really an arrogance. And it's funny because they were once the party supposedly of the people, let the people decide. But now they're the party of the experts and the elitists. So Anthony Fauci is a so-called scientific expert. He said he was the science. And Hayek and others talked about this. It's this fatal conceit that experts know better than the general man or better than the marketplace. And it really does separate as a party because they have no respect for the individual or the individual's right to make decisions about their own health care.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.